So Savannah, why don't we just start with you and you can give us a brief rundown on what you do, how you got into the business. Did you come from the brokering world and then move into a direct lender? Maybe just give us a rundown on yourself. We can, what you're about.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Savannah. It's great to meet all of you guys. Thank you so much for having me. I'm with CV3 Financial, and we are a direct private lender. We're based out of California, but I myself am in Fort Lauderdale. And so I've been with CV3 for since inception for about 2 years now. And prior to that, we were Civic Financial. So I was with the same team for about another 9 years or so. So collectively, I've been with the same company and team for quite some time. And then I actually started at a different private money company out in Irvine when I lived in California. And then Civic was just, kind of beating me at everything and all my quotes and taking all business. So I linked in the CEO and I'm like, how do I interview with you guys? So I've been with them ever since. I think it's a great group. We specialize in 1 to 4. We will eventually go back into small multifamily like we did previously at Civic, probably, 5 to 10, 5 to 12, somewhere in there. I don't know if that's a this year initiative. I think ground up construction was our big one this year and we launched it. But, small multifamily is certainly on the horizon. But for now, we focus on 1 to 4, doing DSCR loans, fix and flip, bridge loans, and then the ground up construction.
Great.
And of course, we have a retail channel, but a lot of our business is wholesale. So we love the mortgage brokers and very appreciative of you guys.
Yeah, that's good. For a while, we were sending everything to you guys. I think lately I've been doing a lot of multifamilies on my side and ground up
Yeah.
construction that was new ground up construction. So I know that you have to have a little bit experience, right? At least one
Hmm.
construction. Okay. Um,
Exactly.
yeah, but I'm itching to get back. And before we kind of go into more of the brokering stuff, I did want to touch on a couple of things with you about CV3 in particular,
Uh-huh.
especially because we have Cecilia and Garrison on the line here, because you have some really cool niche products that a lot of people don't offer. And I specifically wanted to go over the no seasoning for a
Hmm.
DSL. So this is a really, really good product that you offer. So if you could just maybe, drop us some details
Absolutely.
on that.
So most lenders have a seasoning requirement, which is typically 6 months. So if somebody purchases a property, fixes it up, and wants to do a cash out refinance, most lenders have a 6 month seasoning requirement. We have no seasoning requirement. So if somebody purchases a property, fixes it up, and then a month later they're like, okay, well, I want to recapitalize and get my new equity out, move on to my next project. We're here all day for that. So we'll use that new appraised value. We'll do the cash out refinance. Vacancy is absolutely fine. We'll use the market rents to qualify the DSCR while they work on getting a tenant in place. So that's huge for us. A lot of our business is the no seasoning cash out refinance. And we can go down to a $75,000 loan amount on that product. So in some of the like some pockets of Ohio, for example, are kind of smaller. A duplex is you can get a great cash flowing duplex for 110,000 out there, so there's great little pockets where the base loan amount ends up being around 75, 80,000, and some lenders won't do that. And we will. So we are also pretty big in that market. But the no seasoning cash out refinances is huge for us, I would say.
Yeah, it's massive. And honestly, that was, I think, a lot of our business because one of my preferred clients
Mhm.
out in Virginia, we did all of his loans with you because he was just going through them so quickly. And I think the
Yes.
parameter, it's so long as you can show that you put at least $10,000 worth of work. Is that still accurate?
Exactly. There's not a set dollar amount. You just need to have added value. But yeah, generally, if you're, changing the flooring or appliances or, some landscaping or, just something kind of equating around there is where I've seen, kind of what they're looking for. So, just something that kind of justifies the higher new appraised value.
Okay. And you already mentioned this, but I'm gonna repeat it because this is also one of my other favorite things with you guys is that the property can be vacant at the
Yes.
time of refi. So Garrison, sometimes a lot of these lenders, like you really need to have somebody, it can be vacant at the time of appraisal, but somebody needs to be living by the time you close this property, which means you have to pay an appraiser to go back out there and double check and have a lease in place. Or some lenders, I need to have 2 months paid lease already. So this is a really, really added bonus for somebody that wants to get in and out of a property quickly and wants to actually interview some people to rent. Like they don't want to just put anybody in their property. So that's a huge thing.
Right, for the sake of getting it rented.
Yes. And then the other thing I wanted to ask you about was your mid rehab product, because that's another one. Like, and you guys do make construction. Like, if someone bought a property that was mid construction, would you
Yes.
give
So
them?
for us, we'll do the mid-con as long as the property is weather tight and securable and has rough plumbing and rough electrical, then we're good to come in and lend on it. We'll do a mid-con rate and term refinance, interest reserve, remaining budget. Some properties we ask for photos and it's not quite far enough along. It's still open to the outside, for example, and not securable. But once they get it kind of framed and it has the roof, the windows and doors, or at least, I've had a garage boarded up before, so completely securable, weather tight, rough plumbing, rough electrical, we're good. We'll come in and we'll lend on it. We'll get that project over the finish line. We won't do cash out on a mid-con, but we can certainly build in an interest reserve so they're not making payments and then fund that remaining budget.
Right.
I have
And
a
then what about if
question.
someone was going to buy a property, say that they were, it was a ground up
Yeah.
construction project that it's new to
Mhm.
them, would that have to be weather tight?
It would, yes. We wouldn't be able to lend on it if it wasn't weather tight, but we can certainly do it as a purchase as well and treat it like a standard fix and flip loan.
Right. Cecilia, did you want to say something there?
Yeah, I have a
Yeah.
question, Savannah. So you were mentioning mid-con, and I'm
Mhm.
guessing this is just for like a single family residential home, not like a development, correct?
So we can do multiple properties, yes, but if there's a concentration limit. So for example, I just lent on a development. I lent on 4 properties out of the 9. In it after a couple of those sell, they'll come in and let me do some more, because so we do have a concentration limit. We can't do the whole development, but yes, we can do several properties in one development, for example. And then we can just if they want to do if it's a larger development and we want to do a lot of them, we just have to submit a request to let the underwriters know what kind of concentration they'd let us do, 20%, 50%, so concentration is something we think about, but certainly we would do more than one property in a development.
Okay, you also mentioned mid-con, so that basically you have to have a foundation, not only just horizontals almost completed, correct?
Exactly. Yep. So we need to be weather tight.
Right, absolutely. So if a borrower has 8 homes that they're wanting to develop and they don't have the foundation, but they have majority of the horizontals completed, that would not be a scenario?
No, so that would be on our ground up construction product. So it sounds like
Right.
they just need a ground up construction loan.
Right. I actually do have a scenario that is it's a small development, but they're building 8 homes and they got majority of the horizontals completed. They just need a little more, like $50,000 more to complete them before they get to the vertical. And they had a few instances, I guess, medical instance with a family member that he was not able to complete the horizontals, but and then his loan also expires tomorrow, his note. So he's
Mm.
needing to complete the rest of the horizontal and do the vertical. But I guess we can discuss that.
So one thing for our ground up construction loan, we can't give any cash out. So if he's looking for additional funds to finish the horizontal, now that
Yeah.
wouldn't be a fit for us. It would pretty much need to be shovel ready. We come in, we do a rate and term refinance, we fund the complete ground up construction budget with a payment reserve and a contingency. But if he's looking for that 50,000 to get some stuff finished up, that part we would not be able to assist with.
Okay. Okay.
Um,
I remember Civic because I've done work with Civic before, and they do a lot of ground up
Yes.
construction.
Yes, yeah. They're actually owned by Rock Capital now. So it's not the same company. They kept the name and email addresses and went under Rock Capital. And then itself is CV3, but Civic now is an umbrella under Rock. So they can do ground up construction. They have a lot of products. They have Finance of America under there. So that umbrella has a lot of companies.
Right. Right.
Um, Cecilia, actually, just not take away from the call, but I can send you, since we can't put it through Savannah, I can send you an email for someone that might be able to help out your client.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah, and just a little plug here, you can also find them in LenderBase, which I'll show you again at some point in time. So I did find some good ones in there, and Savannah's in there, obviously. All of her contact information, her email, we can send it to you
Yeah,
separately.
that'd be great. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Um,
Awesome.
and I just wanted to say hi to Walt here that also joined. I don't know if
Hi,
I've
Walt.
ever. Walt, are you a broker as well?
Yes.
Okay,
Hello,
cool.
greetings, and pardon for me being late. With IT Thursday, I guess.
That's okay. It's a silent entry, so I just happened to notice, but you weren't disrupting anyone, no worries.
All right, awesome.
Yeah, so this is just a run through. You just came in, Savannah, CV3 Financial. We just went through all of her products, and you can watch this on replay later if you want to know some more information about that. What I want to get to next is what we're here for, because what we do is try to help people be better brokers. And Savannah, we've been with her since we've been trying to broker, and she was a great resource to us. And she knows a lot about the business and has dealt with, I think, probably the absolute worst broker to probably the absolute best brokers in the business. So she has a lot of perspective. Um, and I just kind of wanted to get into that first in terms of like, I mean, what is something that you really, really look for in a broker? Like if you could say what is your favorite thing about a broker that comes to you wanting to process loans with you?
So I think something that's huge, obviously the first step in submitting a loan to us is, you want us to quote it or review it and see if it's something we can do. So I get, scenarios all throughout the day, and you really can tell when a broker knows what they're asking you for a quote on. They know the file because I open the body of the email, there's bullet points right there. Loan request, cash out refinance, DSCR, credit score is this, experience is this, property address is this. And when I see an email like that, especially if I'm a little busier or I have a lot going on, I know that, hey, I can review that and get this quote out very fast. I can see they've given me all of the information I need. And I'll go in right then and get them a quote extremely fast. I also get quotes or emails, on the contrary, where it says, hi, can you do the attached, where would we be on pricing? And it's just, 13, 14 different documents that are attached and not labeled. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to, I don't know even what they're asking for. I'm going to have to go through, open one document at a time. And, or then I'll say, hey, I'm driving. Do you know this information off the top of your head? It's in the attachments. Okay, I'll get to this later, when I have the time to sit and do this. So it's when you know your loan, hey, it's a cash out refi, they're looking for this, this is their experience, this is their credit. Lenders love to see that, and they're going to know that that's the quality of working with you that they're going to get, and they're going to prioritize that and your files because they know that you mean business. When I see the emails asking for quotes, you can tell they don't even know the deal themselves. They just forwarded a bunch of attachments and they want me to jump in and look at it and dissect it and figure out what's going on. Is it rehab? Is it this? Versus just a clear, concise email up front. That's huge. And that's your first, entryway with a loan on getting it to a lender and getting it funded. And I think that's one great way, just something so small that can really help a lender review and prioritize getting you a quick quote that you can quickly disseminate to your client, see if it fits and get it submitted. So I would just say know your deal when you're looking for a quote. I think that goes a really long way.
Yeah, and for reference then, how many emails do you think you personally get a day asking for something to be quoted? I mean,
Oh
sometimes
my
it's like
gosh.
within a day, like
Yeah, I mean, I definitely 10 to 20, I would say, a day, and a lot of them are repeat brokers that know the little line items to give me, and then I'm sending it right to them. And if I'm driving and I'm busy, it's so easy for me to copy and paste it, send it to one of my assistants and say, hey, can you get me pricing on this so that they're not waiting? Bam, they do it, get it right back to me versus somewhere where I'm like, I'm gonna have to dig in. No, I'll get to this tonight when I can sit and do this, So yeah, certainly between, probably 10 and 20. And it's just, you really can tell the difference when someone knows what they're looking for, when they know their file, you know?
Please never text and drive on my behalf. I can always
Yeah,
walk.
I know. I probably shouldn't say that, but
No, it's all hands free.
yeah, voice text. Yeah, that's why there's some misspellings, you know?
Perfect. I was wondering what that was about. You're very good at grammar otherwise. Um, all right. So I mean, you covered a lot of stuff there. I mean, what do you think that people can do then? So they know their deal, they're looking at it, and then
Yeah,
it fits your box, and there's kind of like maybe a little hair on it. And you guys, again, you have a pretty broad bucket, and I mean, I've gone through
yeah.
this with you that, at least we didn't find out till later there was a bit of hair. But what do you think that they can do
Hmm.
at the outset to get either difficult or borderline deals through? Like, what would be the MO there?
So the biggest thing I would say is just tell me the truth up front, because chances are we can make it work if I know what I need to make work. So we have a great exception desk and a deal desk system that we can submit tickets to. And if you say, hey, I have this situation, but we're in maturity default, but here's why. Technically, yeah, we can't lend on maturity default, but I have funded so many of those. If it's within 60 days, we have a good letter of explanation. It makes sense. The borrower has some good liquidity. So rather than just submitting it and me finding something out, or there was pre-foreclosure activity in the past on something, or who knows, that would initially disqualify a loan. If you say, hey, here's the story behind it, I know how to package that and submit it to my deal desk up front and say, hey, here's some compensating factors. Can we get comfortable with this? And 9 out of 10 times we can. So I would say if it's a hairy situation, that's okay. But just tell me that so I know what we need some kind of an exception on and how to best package that and what kind of compensating factors can we, look for. For example, the maturity default. Now I know to ask you, do they have any other liquidity? Do they have any other retirement accounts? Are they married and does that person have additional assets? How can we paint the strongest picture of these borrowers to get comfortable? And then they're like, oh, let me ask. We get some additional documents, and I'm like, this is a pretty strong file. Let's submit to the deal desk up front, get their approval, we submit and we fund with no issues. So I would say, depending, of course, on what the situation is, just disclose it up front so we can work on it together and see how to best package that for underwriting.
Definitely. So I think that comes too with when we're talking to our clients, and I think that's
Mm-hmm.
can be a hurdle for people of really grilling people when as soon as you can kind of sense something like, okay, well, why is that or what is that? And really, I've gotten more into the habit too of just really, really asking a lot more questions. And then for a hairy
Mm-hmm.
one, putting at the top pros of the deal, good credit, they've got
Yes.
liquidity, and then the cons. So it does really help because there's nothing worse than
Mm-hmm.
getting even to title and like, oh, there's 6 liens on the property. Well,
Mm-hmm.
great, dead in the water if we can't clear those.
Yes.
Yeah, so those are all massive things. And I've definitely gone through that with you guys or something. I was trying to refinance out from you guys, I remember, and it just
Mm-hmm.
getting, a verification of mortgage. Oh, my bank, like, I can't get those things. I don't work at that. I don't have that bank. In the end, you just hadn't paid the loan for 12 months.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
that was for you guys. So it was, I mean, that would have been really good to know before I spent 3 months working with this guy. Um, yeah, and I guess we kind of touched on this yesterday in one of our meetings. Um, when you say like a broker screws up, like, I
Mm-hmm.
didn't send you something, or I totally sent you the wrong docs, or I didn't ask enough questions, or I gave you some misinformation. From a lender standpoint, what do you think is the best way for a broker to deal with you when that happens?
Same thing. I think just clear communication. I had an instance where I had done some loans for an investor who had a partner. And we had one version of an operating agreement, and then a broker had submitted another deal for the partner with a different operating agreement. And so naturally it flagged some concern with our entity desk and legal because we had closed, a lot of loans under a previous entity structure. And then I got on a call with them and I'm like, well, what's actually going on? Is this actually some kind of a misrepresentation? And he's like, got his processor on the phone and they're like, that was a complete accident. They had created that other version last year when they were talking about changing the structure and him doing more of the business himself. It was they drafted it. It's never been submitted to another lender. It's never been put into use. It was just our accidental upload, and I'm like, I can understand that. And I'm going to take your word for that. Put it in a good letter of explanation for me. Let me disseminate that to legal and to everybody. And we got it cleared, so it's just, hey, we all make mistakes. We all upload sometimes something we didn't mean to. Let's talk about it, clearly communicate, figure out what happened, and then resolve it. So I just think clear communication is very important, and then you see if it's something we can fix.
Okay, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, and for you, like
Yeah.
dealing with people, like what would be something that would actually cause you to stop working with somebody, or really, I mean, apart from the things that we mentioned, do you have like a hard stop?
Right.
Obviously, fraud is a huge one, but
Fraud, yeah. I would say the bank statements. There's been instances where, a broker has uploaded bank statements, and then we simply ask, can you show us the email where the borrower provided them to you? Should be an easy task if it's the borrower who, made the fraudulent bank statements. And we've had some brokers that can't produce that, so unfortunately we'll blacklist them from that point, and we won't work with them. So we will get to, we want to see where the fabricated statements came from, or whatever the document is. And typically a broker will just say, oh yeah, here's an email thread, you can see they gave it to me. We're good, and then we're fine with the broker, and that's absolutely okay. But when they're like, oh yeah, I can't seem to find where they gave it to me, but I know they did, or oh, they gave it to me in person and I scanned it, and it's like, so I would say when it comes to fabrication of any kind like that, and we know that you're not being a good partner, we certainly would draw the line there. So when it comes to any type of fraud, that's where.
fair enough. Um,
Yeah.
and I think there's a lot of confusion about underwriting for brokers, since we don't like, I think it just takes a while to really understand what's happening on the other side, because we just, when you
Mm-hmm.
get emails back and forth, we have no idea. There's certain guidelines, and I think communicating with
Mm-hmm.
the clients, that, well, you didn't tell me at the beginning. It's like, well, Savannah didn't even know at the beginning this is going to be
Yeah.
the rock star over there. Like, you just know
Yeah.
it's going to be by property. So I mean, in terms of what do you think brokers really misunderstand about the underwriting process, and what would help to just maybe set them on their way and make them understand a little bit how it works?
Um, so I think just like you had mentioned, pinpointing things that might be an issue up front. Like if you know that the borrower lived in this property recently, you don't have to try to conceal that, because what some brokers don't know is that we're pulling a LexisNexis report, and we're looking at backgrounds and previous addresses, and things of that nature. So for example, if you're like, hey, I know they lived in it, it was owner occupied. Well, has it been vacant for 60 days? Yes. Well, then we're fine with it. So you could have just told us that up front, and I could have notated that. We wouldn't have gotten a flag on the file, so little things like that. Having family members, that live in the property or on the lease agreement. We don't allow family members or friends to reside as the tenant, because a lot of times they'll just fill out a lease agreement with a family member that doesn't really live there or something like that, just to put a higher amount. Um, so, just little things like that. The underwriters are looking for, just little things that might be little white lies. So I would say just package it as honest as you can, and and give it to us, and let us take it to the underwriter. We're looking at it pretty good before we push it to underwriting. So for the most part, we'll come up with any questions that we need to get clarity on, so that the underwriter can just push right through it, get it approved, and go on to the next one. But certainly I would say, just packaging it as best we can, so that they can review it quickly, not take too many touches, and move on.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. I've had a few instances even where like either my rep or the, from the lending side kind of said to do something, and I was like, I don't think I should do that. Like, I don't want to ask my client to do that weird thing, or I don't want, like, it just seems like it's a weird kind of shift from anyone's side to do it. And that's kind of a reason that we've stopped working with people in the past. And have kept our top star lenders that were like, okay, we know that everything's going to be fine. And we can, I mean, you guys, again, are very flexible. I don't know how many
Yeah.
letters of explanations we've written for you guys.
Yeah.
I mean, our clients have written and
Yeah.
signed and sent to you. But I mean, it goes a really long way to just explain what is going on for sure.
And then at the end of the day, it's just a business decision. And it's like, well, is it a strong file? Does this letter make sense? Okay, package it and let's move on to the next one.
Yeah, I always think of it as the strike system, where it's like, okay, we can allow for maybe one or two of these things, but we can't allow for all five of these things to not be lining up.
Yes.
It's just a dead deal otherwise.
Exactly. Exactly.
In terms of a broker growing their business, like, and again, you've been doing this for a long time and you've seen people probably get stuck where
Yeah.
they are. Like, what do you think is something that really happens to people? Like, why they get stuck at one or two loans a month versus somebody who's, 2, 3, 4, 5 and just growing from there?
Definitely. So I think asking for referrals is huge because if you have a client that is, maybe a seasoned investor or just new to investing, chances are they're talking about it with their friends in their immediate circle. And maybe one of their friends is getting motivated too and thinks, hey, I want to maybe jump in and try a small investment property. So I think after you close the transaction with somebody, assuming it went relatively smooth, I'm all about asking for referrals and hey, if you have someone else in your network, I'd love for you to connect me and check in every once in a while. And so I think the referral base is huge after you have a good closing or two with a client. And then I see, there's brokers that clearly go out, network, go to the networking events, join the social media groups, and they are truly out there trying to grow their network. And that's where I see the success. They're out there, they're talking to people, they're going to conferences, they're in the social media groups, the public groups. And then there's the brokers that are a little smaller and maybe they're more just by word of mouth, and they're not into the networking or the social and maybe a little afraid to ask for a referral, something like that. So I think just being more social and actually going out of your comfort zone and going to these resources that are available to you to meet other like-minded people, I think that's huge. So I think you just have to push yourself a little bit to put yourself in these situations where you're going to be engaging with people that could be potential clients or refer you to somebody else.
Yeah, it's definitely a two-way street. I mean, obviously we want to grow our business and make money and
Yeah,
success for everyone that works on our team, but we also want success for our clients and getting over that.
absolutely.
Like, I'm trying to find clients, but I'm also trying to find people that have a problem that I really think I can solve, and I can solve it ethically and fairly. I think that's a major kind of maybe mental hurdle sometimes when you're getting into a business of like how to ask for deal, how to ask for the sale, how
Yeah.
to really put yourself out there. Like, I know what I'm doing. I know I can help you. And if
Mm-hmm.
something goes wrong, I can ask for a letter of explanation.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
Worst
great.
case, we'll just grab an LOE.
That's right. Worst case, or have I've got a backup after you. I have like a series of people that I know. Okay, if something goes wrong at the end of CV3, at least I've got somebody who is a little sketchier
Exactly.
and doesn't mind all the hair so much.
Exactly. Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. So you were saying that about 80%, no, yeah, 80% of CV3's business is broker. Is that what or 20?
So mine personally is about 80% wholesale, 20% retail. I don't know the exact split for the company, but I know it certainly is larger wholesale. Um, there are a lot of developers and retail investors that we have done hundreds of deals for that are consecutive with us, but our wholesale side is larger, I believe, on the volume. I don't know the exact numbers. Myself personally is about 80-20, I would say.
Okay. um, oh, so is there a benefit actually? This is something I do want to ask about because
Hmm.
if I recall, so if there's a broker that's constantly bringing you deals,
Hmm.
you think you have sort of like a reward-based system. And I think not everybody does, but I know that you guys do. So what does it mean, if I'm bringing you 5, 10 deals a month, what does that mean for me?
Yeah, so we do. We actually have a program. It's called the Winner Circle. So every month, based on how many loans you fund with us, we send you just different things and presents and prizes, and all the way up to the end of the year. It's the top 10, I think, get these fabulous, all expense paid trips. I think one was to Napa recently, you know, so this most recent one was Scottsdale, you know, so we really do try to, you know, just let our brokers know how much we appreciate them. And then in terms of pricing, certainly, you know, if there's a broker that sends you know, a couple deals a month, you know, it's gonna we're gonna look at it a little differently when they're like, hey, I need a favor on this one, you know, or if it's somebody that's a good partner that we do a lot of business with and they're like, hey, I need some love on this one. We're like, no problem. Let me go, let me take it at the chain, so what we can do, you know, and we're gonna fight for you, you know, because you're one of our great partners. So I think it's certainly there's a lot of benefits to a continued relationship like that.
So stay in your good graces, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll do anything we can for you.
That's good. And then in terms of the market right now, I know that like the rate thing, like went through a bunch of stuff last year. We had clients just waiting and waiting to be like, oh, the rates are
Mm-hmm.
gonna go down. And then us constantly explaining like that doesn't mean what you think it means. A long
Exactly.
time. And I feel like now I had clients kicking themselves of being like, oh shoot, now they're going back up again. And I mean, even this
Mm-hmm.
month, I'm like, you got to
Yes.
sign this stuff now because this is happening
Yes.
again in the next few weeks. So, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
what are you seeing apart from obviously the rates? Are you like they're
Right.
projected to go again? Are you seeing any other shifts or anything that you would really want to tell your brokers to watch out for, like that you've been kind of having your eye on?
Really just with the rates being high and not going down this year as everybody was looking forward to last year, you know, and predicting. In fact, they're up, like you said. So I think one thing that we're going to kind of see to balance that out as rates stay up throughout the end of this year is I think homes in certain markets have been sitting a little longer, and I think there will be some price correction. Not in every market, of course, but some markets, I think there will be a little bit of price, you know, prices going down just a little bit because of affordability with these rates. So some flippers of ours that we've seen, their properties are sitting a little longer because the market they went into the project in one market, you know, and just 3 months later now they're in a different market, and it's not, you know, affordability is not what it was. The rates are worse. People are nervous about what's going on with the state of everything in general. So the properties are sitting a little longer in some markets, and that's why I think it's so important that when you underwrite a deal, you should also look at, well, worst case scenario, if this property sits and you need to pivot and hold it as a rental for a year, then reevaluate the market a year from now, maybe try to sell again. Would this cash flow as a rental? So you might think it's a fix and flip, but what's the harm in taking an extra hour to underwrite it on the back end too? Is would this cash flow? How much? What would the insurance be? What would the taxes be? What kind of a DSCR rate am I looking at? Can I hold this for a year if I need to pivot if it sits and doesn't sell? So that's really just getting ahead of things. And when a broker can have that conversation with a client and say, hey, you know, this might be a fix and flip, but worst case, if you need to pivot your strategy, if it says, let's just underwrite that as well. And then that borrower is going to know, hey, this broker has my back. This broker is a good partner. They're not just trying to close a deal and make some money. You know, they're in it for the long haul. They're a partner with me. And I think that's huge, you know, and we try to look at stuff like that too when we underwrite deals up front. But I think just conversing with the borrower and conveying that, hey, let's look at a couple different avenues for this project at worst case scenario, they're really going to appreciate that. So I think that would be some great advice to give to brokers.
Oh, yeah, honestly, that's great. And I completely agree with that. And I know that our team does. Like Garrison and I were just talking about this yesterday, I think it was, of having a DSCR calculator just up on one of your tabs. So
Yeah.
if you're doing a flip, or if, you know, or if they're looking, if they're a new investor, or they're saying, oh, do I buy a rental? Do I buy this? We'll just work out the numbers with them on the phone. And it's kind of
Mm-hmm.
shocking, especially if you're in a place like, you know, New Jersey or Connecticut with those really high property taxes. Um,
Mm-hmm.
is this actually a feasible property if you can't get rid of it? Or if you're planning
Mm-hmm.
finance, you know, what is that actually going to look like? Because there are products I know that go below one DSCR, but does anybody
Mm-hmm.
paying extra for their property? Like, what is the point of it?
Yeah. Exactly. And like you said, and looking at, some markets are a little higher on insurance, because maybe there's hurricanes, maybe there's flood insurance. So take that into account when you're, running that DSCR, because it might be a great vacation property, but hey, it might also, the carrying cost might be a little high if you have to insure that baby for 12 months. So all just great things to think about up front.
Yeah, definitely. We wanted to talk to our visitors here. Did anyone have any questions for Savannah or the group in general? Anything you wanted to ask her either about CV3 or brokering, or any suggestions she has? Because honestly, she's very good at her job, and I can, testament to that. So if you've got a question, it could, make use of it. Ask her.
Oh, thank you so much.
I actually have a statement if I'd like to add to Savannah. Alex, you were asking earlier, what are some things like red flags? I think it's important to read through the documents before it even gets to a lender, before it's even submitted to, like, for example, if they're submitting to Savannah, it's important to read through the documents that you have, because there's a lot of things that can be caught way before that you can determine in your mind, hey, this is a doable deal, this is not doable. And because of this, I think it's a red flag, or because of the lack of this, I don't think it could get done. So it's also using your discretion when you're reading through the documents before you send it to a lender, because that can tell you, make or break your deal up front.
And take a lot of time. I mean, that's the other
Mm-hmm.
thing. If you're just getting a doc and then forwarding it, first of all, not renaming your doc.
Yeah.
Like that, I just
Oh,
like,
I see that all the time, and I'm like, what is LPD F333? Like, no idea.
yeah, that's massive. And then, catching small things like, and this is just from this, well, yesterday, got an EIN from California, had the filing docs from Louisiana. And I'm like, well, how is the EIN from California? And then they sent me the OA. I was like, the OA was from 2025, but you just opened this LLC 3 days ago. And I was like, then I looked it up and I said, okay, there's another LLC with the same name, which they also own, but the board actually didn't realize that you need to have an EIN per LLC. He was like, well, it's the same name. I'm like, in completely different states. Like, he's like, oh, so I need another OA.
Totally.
And I'm like, yes, you can have an operating agreement from 2 years prior to when you filed the LLC. And it's just small stuff like that that I'm sure you guys appreciate as well. Cause like I personally find it very embarrassing when I send a doc that is so obviously something I shouldn't have sent, or I didn't review it correctly, or whatever it is. Like I hate being kicked back, stuff like that. So yeah, just the extra few minutes,
Yeah,
yeah, to take to review is great.
that's huge. And it's so, so appreciated from lenders. So appreciated.
Yeah, I was curious, like, I mean, what happens in the background? I'm sure there's an awful lot of scoffing. Like, we scoff at our clients, and I'm sure you guys scoff at
Yeah.
us. And it just goes up the chain, and then the underwriter scoffs at you, and it's like,
Yeah. You know what? I think we're all, because everybody uses Microsoft Teams, you know how you can just put a GIF or a GIF, whatever the memes in there. You don't even have to say anything. You can just send the meme or the GIF, and everybody gets it. And you're like, yeah, whoops.
yeah. Yeah, it's funny with all these young people coming in too. Like, not that we're particularly, anxious
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
field, but like some of my reps now, like this, he honestly, he looks like a baby. He's so sweet. He's
yeah.
great. But he said, he'll do like shake my head, like the SMH, and I still have to look up what half these things mean half the
Oh
time.
my gosh, I will literally ask ChatGPT. One of my teammates, he's like 25, and he's always says little things like that, and then I'm like, let me, and I love him. He makes jokes, but he'll call me grandma when I ask him what's that. So I'm like, let me ask my phone instead of ask you.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had to do that a bunch. I mean, I think it just added to the amount of acronyms in our business. Like, I still things come across our desk where I'm like, this
Yeah,
is just a new one for me, not from a young kid, but just from some document that
yeah.
I've never heard of. Or it's just, they've been renamed in the past 6 months or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's everything is always constantly changing the terminology. So it's like, thankfully, with the invent of ChatGPT, I can just get a quiet answer on the side, and nobody is any of the wiser.
You will not be called grandma any longer.
Yeah, exactly.
Garrison, how about you? Did you have anything you wanted to ask? Or I think that if after this phone call, you should definitely send Savannah an email. And even if you can just get some process going there, because I think a lot of the deals that you were talking about, they'd be a great fit, and they can be very forgiving on credit. So if you have some like lower credit borrowers, or I've done deals with you guys in Philadelphia before. Are you
Hmm.
guys still Philly friendly, or is that?
Oh yeah, Philadelphia and Maryland. Hmm.
Oh, are
Oh,
you like,
okay.
do you guys have cut leverages in Maryland right now?
We did cut leverages. Yeah, in Maryland, we'll do 65 on a cash out, and 70 on a purchase, rate and term or purchase.
Well, you're still there. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Garrison.
Yeah.
So, two things I wanted to cover here. This mid-construction
Mhm.
financing. First of all, how does it happen? Why would somebody be in a construction and then in the middle they will need, because they got the first financing from somebody else, and now
Mhm.
they're in the middle of it and they will need to come to you. How does that work?
Yeah, so there's several reasons. One is that they misbudgeted, and so they got a
Oh,
fix
okay.
and flip loan, or a construction loan for $200,000 on their project. They're about halfway through, and they've used almost all of that $200,000. But the project's not near finished. Materials turned out to be more. Tariffs came into play, and you had no idea costs were going to skyrocket. Um, so misbudgeting is the number one reason, I would say. So then they're
Mm.
like, well, we need another 100,000 to really get this over the finish line. And that lender is not going to extend or go in and give them, a new, increase the amount. So they need to refi out, do a larger budget to finish the project. So misbudgeting or, changes in budget is a huge one. Another one I would say is I've had some where I'm trying to recall the situation. The GC basically walked off the property, wouldn't finish it. Something was going on. Then the lender wouldn't approve another GC, and they wouldn't give them draws. So it can be lender based or just a total nightmare like that with the GC. And then the good news is that person had a lot of experience. So we're like, you can go owner builder, buddy. Like, don't worry. Let's figure out a solution. It's a good project. We're not giving any cash out, so it's not really risky from that standpoint. There's plenty of equity. So yeah, existing lender issues. But the biggest one I would say is just misbudgeting and running out of money.
I see. Okay. Does this apply to fix and flip?
Yeah, absolutely.
And
That's the program we put it on, the fix and flip.
okay, the reason I asked is several years ago, I wouldn't even remember the years, but I had a situation where I was trying to get into this business, and
Hmm.
that's the thing that caused me to walk away. Actually, I went out of money. I got the project, I got the property. I was very, very anxious to do it. So I got hard money lending a guy to give me the money. When the
Hmm.
contractor walked away, first of all, I was stupid. I gave him all my money at once.
Hmm.
Yes, I gave him the first half. He cleared up everything. Then he said, "Okay, now that we took everything out, I need the other half to put good things back." I gave him the money. He walked away, and up to this day, I've never seen him.
Yeah.
But if I knew that I had a second alternative to come in the market and look for money, probably I would have
Hmm.
saved that project. So you do fix and flip.
Absolutely. Yep,
Okay.
absolutely. And sadly, we've seen situations like that. Like I just mentioned, contractors in we've seen some that have not been the most honest of people, have left mid-project, absconded with your money,
Mhm.
asked for huge sums rather than, line item by line item, little bit at a time. No one's giving the GC, all of the money at once for that reason, because we've seen it happen so many times. Let's get a real budget. Let's go line item by line item, even a few at once, of course, and then let's pay, as we go. That's just we've sadly seen a bit of an uptick in GC situations. So I'm sorry that happened to you, but I can understand the situation.
Well, at least I know where to go now. First of all, it's not going to happen
Yeah,
again ever.
no
Yeah.
way, exactly.
Yes,
Once
because
you've
I've been
seen
working
it,
with
you're like,
professional
nope.
people now. I was
Yep.
doing it on my own at the time, but now I'm working with professional people myself. I'm in the funding space, so it's never
That's
going to happen
exactly
again.
right.
But at least if I come across someone who is in a fix and flip situation, I can
Hmm.
tell them that, hey, I know where to take you.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Garrison,
Okay.
even using anecdotes like that, because again, Garrison's really trying to get out there and put himself out there. Like, if you want to post something like that, like get stuck mid rehab, we have you covered. Like, those are very
Yeah.
attractive products. That's like why we spoke with them at the beginning, because a lot of people don't do this at all. Like, they won't touch it with a 10-foot pole. This is a kind of this is
Hmm.
a special
Yeah,
product.
yeah.
And I'd say the GC situation, probably 50% of the mid-cons I've seen are because of that, where it's just like
Mm-hmm.
walked away, or and then there's
Yeah.
obviously natural disaster and things like,
Right.
that happen when it's
Yeah.
there,
We,
but
we
none of it,
saw a
I mean,
lot of that in like Fort Myers and stuff.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, huge for sure.
May
Mm-hmm.
I make a comment as well? And I'm not trying to take over the meeting, but I do a lot of construction as well, even major developments, but it's also not allowing enough in your contingency cost. There's a lot of developers that you should allow 10%, but I
Mm-hmm.
see some that allow 3%. I'm like, well, what happens when material cost goes up in 3 or 4
Mm-hmm.
months? You're going to be at a deficit. You're not going to have enough. Then you're going to need more money. So you need to
Yep.
reevaluate your budget. So that's a very big
Yeah.
one I see as well.
Contingency is huge, 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 huge. Because, like you said, you never know. People didn't know that, oh, and now we have tariffs, and now labor, materials skyrocketed for lumber, just crazy stuff. And it's like, you're not looking at the same budget you were a few months ago, so
Right.
that's huge. But having that contingency, like you mentioned,
Right.
is
Exactly.
huge.
Exactly. I agree.
Cecilia, have you ever had pushback from your clients over
Quite
a
a bit.
larger? Have you ever had pushback from your clients about the amount of contingency? Like I've seen sometimes
Yes,
they were like, "Well, why are you adding 10%?" I'm like,
Hmm. Always.
absolutely. I get it all the time. In fact, I have a recent one that I just picked up and all of my loans are referrals as well. And I've been doing commercial loans for 20 years. So all of my deals are referral based. But yes, I get pushback all the time. And I tell them, I say, look, I read through all the documents and it's not even going to see a lender's hands until I read through all the documents and I understand what your project is about. And I tell them, I
Hmm.
see developers put in 3%. I'm like, it's not going to go that way. You're going to be at a deficit
Hmm.
way before you're even at the first draw or most second draw. I said, so you need to really reevaluate that and reconsider because now you got to go back through the hoops and bounds of jumping through it again to get another construction loan because now you're at a deficit. So yes, I get pushback all the time.
yeah. Yeah, I think that's something I've heard too. Say, oh, maybe I can save a little somewhere else. And like, that's just a terrible way to approach a project. Like, you're going to
Yeah.
save some drywall. You're just not going to put it in
Yeah.
some of the rooms. Like, that's
Right.
crazy.
Right.
Shortcuts. Don't get shortcuts. Exactly.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah,
Save
I think
yourself from down the road.
definitely.
Hmm.
Savannah can't save you from everything.
Yeah. Yeah, that's building those contingencies.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyone else? Walt, did you have anything you want to chime in? You don't have to. I don't mean to call you out, but if you had anything you wanted to either comment, question, anything, it's all fair game here. Cecilia, you're
Oh,
welcome to say anything else as well.
all right, safe place, right? No, awesome. Yeah, one of the things that I just want to piggyback on, and that is, and I'm communicating that with my lead source, is to get all of the details prior to, so that we're asking those intelligent questions, and it really makes sense because um, when you're in the middle of being able to submit, and then you got to go back and get these things. I'd rather have over with that information so that when I get ready to present it, that all the I's are dotted and all the T's are crossed. So I second that. And I'm going to let my team hear the replay on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, make your whole team come to the meeting next time.
Will
Yeah.
do.
We'll scold them on your behalf.
Thank
Yes,
you,
You can
ma'am.
give us
we'll
the
drill it
talking
in.
points. Yeah.
Here,
Um,
Awesome.
here's something I'm experiencing right now, and I think Alex, I did post this gas station
yeah.
on Alignable, but here something I'm experiencing is that the partners got a quote from this other company, a letter of
Mhm.
intent, and I says, well, you got to do me the same courtesy and give me the same personal financial statement and financial so I can determine if your loan is ready to go or submittable. And so he says, well, can you get me a letter of intent as well? I'm like, but I don't have those documents. I don't have your personal
Mhm.
financial statements. I don't have any proof of funds to show what type of liquidity do you have. It's a purchase. And he says, well, they gave me a letter of intent. Why can't you? I'm like, well, unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. So technically, if you didn't provide them with a personal financial statement or your proof of funds or some of your documentation, that means that quote is not legitimate.
Yeah.
And I says, I can't, how am I going to get a letter of intent? First of all, I'll be laughed at because they'll ask me the same thing. lender will say, well, where's the personal financial statement? What's the credit look like? What's their proof of funds look like for me to give you a letter of intent? Because now you're wasting everybody's time. So it's kind of funny because on this gas station, I know he's been shopping around, but I told him up front, I said, look, you know, you can't get a letter of intent without providing the basic documentation. It's not legitimate. So technically, how do they know you're qualified if they don't have those basic pieces of documentation?
And on the commercial
Well,
side, that's a lot more intense. Like on the residential side, I mean, you can look if you know if it's a low price, like one bank statement, you say,
well,
okay, you know, they got
that's very true.
60K
Yeah.
liquidity, but it's like if people understand that commercials is a whole other beast with a lot more moving parts. Like, I mean, I think that,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yes, it is. But even on a 1 to 4 unit, even if you're doing a flip, a fix and flip,
Mhm.
or a DSCR loan, it's not based off of the borrower's income, but still, there's still basic information that you need, even for a
Mm-hmm.
DSCR loan or a fix and flip. So it's still, yes, it's a totally different animal. I agree 100%. But even I've seen on DSCR loans, 1 to 4 units, some documents that have not been legitimate or should have been there. And just to get a quote for a DSCR, like even on a purchase.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of things come up with around the finances always, and that's just going to be a forever thing in this business. That no matter what people think they have, they probably need a lot more. And
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
if they're cagey about providing you finances, like in terms of
Mm-hmm.
red flags and all that, it's like, well, you're asking for a hefty sum of money, and yes,
Yeah, exactly. And
obviously, like
time spent on trying to get you that money.
yes, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like when obviously this guy's shopping at Cecilia's a broker, so I think that's the other thing of like I think it's always a kind of piece of the puzzle because I'm a broker and then I've got some clients like, oh, I'm talking to all these people or like I've got 10 quotes. I'm like, that is my actual job. Like
Yeah.
I will do this for you and you tell me what you want and then I will do it for you. And I'm probably going to get to the solution unless it's totally weird and you need some
Yeah.
guy smoking in the back of a cafe or something that like, has
Exactly.
and there's
But
no like
here's something that totally can kill your deal, and I have experienced this as well. Even on a DSCR loan, I had a person shop me 75 times, and I'm like, "Are you kidding me? You kind of blow your opportunity for me to get a loan for you because you're shopping behind my back." And the lender says, I've just seen this loan with another broker, and I've seen it 15
Yeah.
times."
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then we're like, or someone, multiple people will submit it like the same day, and we're like, whoa, so you submitted this loan with, a bunch of different people that like, what's going on? Then we know something's weird. It's not a good look.
you and I
Yeah.
had one like that where we were like fighting for the guy. I don't, do you
Yes.
remember this?
Hmm.
Okay. And
Yeah.
then it was in the end where he was like, okay, I'm just gonna go with like my local guy, but it was like the same terms, it was shopping the same time.
So
We ended up
weird.
at the same place because it was a
Hmm.
neat property, it was rural, it was a cash out,
Yeah.
it was whatever, it totally fit. It was like a complete like CV3 bucket. But yeah, it's so
Hmm.
frustrating.
Yeah.
Things we can't avoid, I guess, but we've got it hard.
Yes.
Maybe like, yeah, like Cecilia's saying, you just got to really lay it out. It's true, Cecilia. Like, I think the clearer you
Absolutely.
are up front, the more people,
Yeah, I agree.
yeah.
Yep.
Um, well, we're kind of winding down here. So I just want to, if anyone else has anything else that they want to chime in or kind of, Savannah, if you have some final words of wisdom for us that you want to leave us on a high note or a low note, whatever seems to make most.
Oh, no, definitely a high note. I think just hearing everybody's input and agreement that, hey, no, we know our files up front before we send it to somebody else, know the answers to the questions. The fact that you guys already feel like that and already know basically how to separate a good from potentially a bad borrower and some little red flags, that's huge. That's half the battle right there, knowing the deal and then knowing where to place it. So I think that's fantastic that you guys, everybody's already on the same page. And we all deal with the same issues, and it sounds like we all see the same issues. So I think it's really great that we can all come together like this and collaborate and share feedback and bounce things off of each other. I just think it's a great platform, and thank you so much for letting me come on and talk to everybody as well.
Well, we're totally honored to have you, Savannah. Thanks for your continued support of our business and everybody else's. And I know that we've sent
Absolutely.
people your way that have been very happy. Chrissy posted your information in the chat, but I also just
Perfect.
really quickly wanted to share my screen with you all. So if you have access to the LenderBase already, this is just the rundown of the app, but you can just type in CV3 here and it will come up. So once you've got Savannah's name and contact info, once you click on the details, you kind of get an overview here of what their buckets and their leverages are. And then here you get the rest of the rundown. So you can actually submit a deal right from here. If you want to email Savannah, you can punch in the loan under loan settings and email it directly to her. And you get like a really nice bullet points of exactly what Miss Savannah wants to see with all the information. You can send extra docs. So yeah, it has all their parameters here. And we're constantly updating this. So when we get new matrices from Savannah, we'll upload them.
Totally.
Those will also be accessible. So here's her contact over here if you missed it.
Perfect.
Awesome. Well, hope to see you all again. You guys have been great. It's always nice to see some friendly faces. And Savannah, maybe at some point in time we'll have you on again, or if you at any point in time when you get to 5+, I always said I would do 10 times more with you guys.
Yes,
Could do
100%. Yes, it is my top on my wish list. So you guys will be the first people I tell.
Okay, good. We're happy to hear it. Thanks, everybody. Any questions, you can always hit us up later. Bye, Garrison, Walt,
Thank
Celia.
you, everybody.
All right.